Views and opinions expressed on the show are strictly those of the host and guests and do not reflect the opinions of LAP Productions and its affiliates.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a wonderful night of Getting to Know with my brother from another mother, Mr. Jason Arthur. How the hell are you?
What's up, brother? Hey,
What's up?
It's Sunday fun day, right?
Well, yeah, some white people say it's Sunday fun day. I don't think Teresa's had too much fun with me today because I've been a jackass all day.
How was that possible? You were out shopping and everything else. Huh?
I am so done with the shopping, but that's a Tuesday night show. We'll talk about that then.
Jay, who has graced us with his presence?
Well,
on this beautiful Sunday night.
Well, this is somebody that actually claims that they know Joe.
Oh, he knows Joe?
Yeah, he knows Joe.
Ooh, shit,
and we still brought him on.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't know that. If I'd have known that up front, there'd have been a questionnaire that would have had to have been answered prior to this show.
So, man, with them kind of credentials, we got to rethink this son of a bitch.
That's right.
Oh, Nick, I'm going to say this right. Mulae?
You got it.
Son of a... I ate alphabet soup this morning just to make sure I knew my letters.
Jay, there's other people out there who can't pronounce my last name right.
you know he's been practicing that all day, right, Nick?
Oh, I told you. I ate
Even
ABC cereals and I ate my alphabet soup and all that shit. So I know my letters today. What's going on, Michelle? Hello.
You even drank your smart water, didn't you?
Oh, hell, I can't drink smart water. I don't get no smarter. That's called beer. At my age, we're done with smart. I'm in survival mode. So, Nick, man, we got you on here. I guess you got several projects going on, and we know from the bio that you gave us that 15 years Paranormal Investigating. You got started around 12 years old.
That's correct. And over the period of the years that I've been involved, it's like I didn't just start off, investigating like right away, but I kind of moved slowly but surely, climbing through the ranks of becoming, what I am today, of course.
Well, it takes a little time to get there sometimes. I mean, and that's the best way to go if you want my opinion about it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just that way you actually learn about what more like you're doing and not just jump in with both feet. And next thing you know, you're in over your head and you're bubbling and looking like a goofball. Because trust me, I took our time getting into the paranormal as well, I think. But I didn't start when I was that young. I was quite a bit older than that when I got involved. Shut up.
Well, you've been involved for what, 20 years at least? So you got into it when you were 50.
Oh!
I mean, not anything older than 47, 48.
It's gonna be one of those kind of nights.
So
thank you guys for doing this show. I gotta go now.
So Nick, why 12 years old, man? What did something happen? Did you experience something that made you start wanting to look into this a little further, or what's the story on that?
So it's actually quite interesting. It's not because of an experience that I had compared to like how most investigators always talk about it was because of experience they had. It was really just more of something that happened to just grab my attention. And interestingly enough, I should also say that even before age 12, it had partially some origins. Like I was already a big fan of horror films by then. I've been watching them then since I was like 6 or 7. So as the years rolled, and around that same time too, when you think about this was the late 90s. Also, this was when the X-Files, which that time it was still brand new. So that kind of gave me the introduction for UFOs and aliens. But when it really started at age 12, I just happened to be flipping through the channels one day, and this was back before Ghost Adventures and all these other shows took over the Travel Channel, and we used to have a lot more every Friday nights. I just happened to change to the channel to the Travel Channel, and there was this show called Most Haunted on. I was like, oh, what's this all about? So I started I just watched it. I think really from that night forward, it's like I was all for it then. So that's why I started studying it. I mean, it just became a major part of my preteen, teen life, and of course now.
Preteen life in the 90s. God bless America.
Well, that was actually 2005. I was 12 by
You were 12 in 2005.
I was born back in 1993.
We are no longer going to discuss ages or years from this point on.
That's correct. I second that emotion.
Oh my God! But I'll give you credit, at least and I'm going to get in trouble with this one. I know I am, but I kind of question sometimes when people say they got involved when they was that young of an age, and they come up with that things. Well, why'd you get involved with paranormal? Because I wanted to help people. Really? You got too many of your own questions at that age to be able to come in here and help people. And that's great. Once you get involved and you learn some things and you want to change in that direction, that's phenomenal. But to start out, I didn't get started in the paranormal field 10 years ago when I got involved because I wanted to help people. I have questions of my own to get answered. And I still do. I still don't know any of the answers. I got a hell of a lot more questions than I got answers. So if I get a chance to help people along the way, absolutely. But that's what I'm here for? No, I'm here for some kind of understanding and some kind of answers. And that they go hand in hand together, then great. But if not, I'm still seeking answers, which is creating more questions. Damn. Listen to Katie. I feel old. I don't want to hear it. I don't hear nothing about another person's room feeling old that ain't older than me. If you're not older than me, stop it. Shut up.
All those people are in bed right now, man.
I'm surprised you didn't say went out with the dinosaurs.
No, they got to get up and hit Bob Evans breakfast in the morning. They're in bed by now.
Quit it. Now you're gonna make me cough tonight. I'm not got COVID. No COVID here. What's up, Bob?
Yeah, we hit some peeping toms.
I thought they were probing. I thought they were probing toms, not peeping toms, Katie.
Well, that's the ones that picked me up on Saturday night, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
But now speaking with the paranormal, I kind of noticed that you have the same open-mindedness about it that Teresa and I and Jason and several that we do associate with, where you not only do you do the haunted side of it and the ghost side of it, you also open up your paranormal umbrella to cover more of the cryptid and ufology and things like that. That to me is a well-rounded paranormal person because you're actually taking the entire paranormal gambit. But
absolutely. It took me again a couple of years for me to really get involved with all the other subjects, but it didn't really take that long for me to get started with ufology, cryptozoology. I mean, I've even studied, vampires and werewolves. There's just so much out there that I was just so open to it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jason, you guys, you ready to say something? I catch you off. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Well, I was going to get more into the cryptids for a moment because there's so much there that ties in so much with urban legends and historical legends. That are you under the understanding of the impression that with as much as there throughout so many cultures having pretty much describing the same creatures around the globe, do you feel that gives that there is got to be more credibility to it than what we're accepting nowadays because we're trying to over-science things?
I think in some way, yes. I mean, and I've heard a lot of I've heard a lot of other investigators talk about it. It's like, for example, like when you look at Bigfoot with all the different types of when you look all over internationally, like all these reports of different types of whether it's Bigfoot, Yeti, skunk ape, whatever they call it in whatever part of the U.S. or whatever country they're from, whatever country that they call it. I think in some way, I honestly believe that they are basically the modern day of what they call Gigantopithecus. Like, because you have to remember, if you go back to history and you learn about, hey, Robert, how you doing? It's from Wisconsin. He's a good buddy of mine. But he, so, like when you look back into history and you realize that there were such creatures like that actually existed, it just makes you wonder, could these be just the exact same creatures that used to be used to be more common thousands of years ago.
And Katie, skunk ape is another name. Actually, it's more down southern Florida in the Everglades of Florida for a name for a Bigfoot creature. Just like in Ohio, we have one called the grassy man. It's basically a Bigfoot also. Just like Nick was saying, they have different names throughout different regions of the country and the world. Like in Australia, they call them the yowie. So
Yeah,
and that's always been a question, and I'm glad you guys are talking about this because now I'm intrigued because I am on the baby steps of learning about cryptid and everything. Like, how do you get different names? I mean, if it's all basically one thing, how is it so many different names and so many different descriptions? If are they off breeds of one and the same? I know I've never understood that. How is it kind of like?
That's a really good question. I never even thought about like where they came up with all these different names, but there is one name that it's not where they don't officially call it, but you hear this a lot even in different countries. Is they sometimes call it, like the wild man, for example, because on many occasions a lot of these Bigfoot reports, although there's a lot of them that have the ape-like appearance to them at the same time, they also have kind of like human-like features.
Well, and as it is, there's two different theories about it. Robert was referring to in there, like you said, the skunk ape is not as bulky as your typical Sasquatch description, but a lot of people feel that, like you just said, Jason, like there's different strands of humans. There's different strands of these things because of regional development of where they live and things like that. They acclimate to their environment and develop along those lines, which, as proven with the humans, the farther north you live, the more bigger and bulkier the bodies are because they're maintaining heat, warmth, and all those things. A lot of people think all those are the same thing with all these. The only thing that a lot of people assume is outside of that spectrum is the Yeti. The Yeti is a creature all of its own. Even though it's similar to a Bigfoot or anything like that, it's actually bigger, kind of like a polar bear is bigger than all the other bears. So, but it's not actually those things. That's just one of the acceptable things is beliefs with it, that they are all the same but different, just like there's Asians and African Americans and Africans and Caucasians, and you keep all these different types of people also. So they would develop along the same lines, just like there are different types of primates.
To give a couple, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, to give a couple examples, like, I can think of a couple different types of Bigfoot type creatures, like we were just saying, the skunk ape or, Florida swamp ape, obviously, as like you said, is seen primarily throughout the southern United States and Florida and Louisiana. They're like little chimpanzees in a way. The Urans of China is a little bit more related to Bigfoot, perhaps. Now, the abominable snowman, in this case, the Yeti, of course, like you said, it's a much different creature. It's much more anthropoid. It goes down on all fours. So there's a couple examples to give you.
So, and there's so many different things about it. I mean, you get into it, and if you talk with oh God, I just forgot his name. I'll think of it in a minute. Up in Michigan, God, I'll think of it in a minute. I swear to God. But there's so many different theories about it. And like with time travel, with them being interdimensional travelers, some people who have sighted them say they heard a sizzling or crackling sound like of energy, like electricity or energy, just before they saw one, and then right after when it just before it disappeared, that they think that's them opening up portals for interdimensional travel and things. There's so many different things along the lines, whether they are an actual thing on this planet, whether they're interdimensional travelers, whether they're actually aliens. So when you talk about cryptids, sometimes you actually get into ufology big time because of the crossover things and the possibility of what they may be and where they come from.
Well, that was going to be my question was, do you think that Bigfoot, or however you want to label it,
Adam?
is actually something similar to an alien where they can travel like that, or because, and I may be wrong, but I think that even with like ancient tombs and things where you have the drawings on the walls and things where it shows, aliens and spaceships and stuff, that how would that even be possible so many hundreds of years ago on these walls? But there's also stories of something similar to a Bigfoot on these walls as well. So kind of think that maybe they go hand in hand. Is that something in the cryptid world that people talk about, or am I speaking way out of turn?
See, the way I see it is I can see somewhat of a connection between the idea that they're either some type of interdimensional or extraterrestrial beings. Because you look at, early history too, not just with, Bigfoot and some of these creatures, but with UFOs. So I definitely get, where you're coming from, because you also have to wonder, saying, how have these creatures been around? I mean, obviously, we already know these creatures have been around much longer than we've had, but it makes you also wonder how big of a population were they, prior to, the modern day man.
Well, it's kind of funny because on that, what there with being interdimensional, you remember, Jason, I was involved in one of the founding members of the North American Dogman Project, got very involved with the cryptid thing for a little while. And my philosophies about it, my thoughts, just asking different questions, I got, just like with the paranormal, I got in some huge trouble real quick because I asked. Because if you look back to any place around here, any place in the world with cave drawings, which are the earliest forms of art and all that, before they started building pyramids in South America and over Egypt, all that stuff, every culture around the world, you can find pictures drawn of these hominoids or these Bigfoot style creatures and stuff. So for them to be in every single culture around the world of people that at that time never came in contact with one another, didn't really know each other, didn't know anything about the other one's culture or anything else, from China to the U.S., South America, there has to be something there. So of course I went into the whole thing about them being possibly something along the lines of being into the fairy folk or things like that, because that way they're part of the planet. They're disconnected from us because we're so destructive. And man, it's like, oh, you're just trying to make a mockery of it. No. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to throw out another possible theory that they are in physical form. It's like, well, we would have found them by now. I'm like, bullshit. If you saw Harry and the Hendersons, I know you're too young for this, Nick.
No, I've seen it.
Okay. So the very end of the movie, when you let Harry loose and the female stands up, the little child stands up, and they're standing right there. They're squatted down. They stand up. Yep. That's where you see. I always use that as an example because we make ghillie suits to mimic nature, to blend in with nature. So you're trying to tell me that if we can make it to mimic them, nature doesn't already have it? That's arrogance on our part. That's arrogance on our part to think that something in the wild can't hide from us and not be undetected. Hell, they're just now finding species that they thought were extinct in South America. They thought been extinct for years, even 100 years, and they're finding they still exist way back in there because they didn't want to be found.
Right.
It's not that hard to figure out and be that possible. Not in my opinion.
Well, how many tribes are still out there amongst the world that just have taken themselves out of that equation, and they're there. You just don't see them because you have to get so far back. I was watching a documentary today on one, and it's hours and hours and hours to get back into where these tribes are at, and they're living off the land. And everybody thought they were gone. Nobody even knows where they're at or who they are. And they're there. So I agree with you on the fact that I just think to me, it amazes me how far back you go. You always seem to find alien drawings, UFO drawings, Bigfoot drawings. Like, to me, that would send more of like a dimensional travel or going from one plane to another kind of thing. Because how else can you explain it? I mean, it was there and it existed all that time ago. And now it's still existing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later. And we're still drawing and looking at the same things. I mean, obviously our drawings are a little different now than theirs, but I mean, it still always existed. And that to me amazes me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like whether you look at modern day photography or videos or the cave drawings. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty much all the same. It's just different ways of describing, what these people experience, whether you lived thousands of years ago back then or today.
I agree with that. It's on the perspective of the person. Same as with the paranormal. I mean, as far as investigating things like that, it's on the perspective of the person and what they experience and what they believe, because that does influence your investigation and how you analyze your evidence. period. So a lot of this, without having any form of tangible evidence, you have to throw in your best educated guess, your hypothesis, and your belief system will actually sway some of the ways that you think about these things. It has to, because we have nothing to substantiate it upon.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Wow, I'm almost sound educated tonight. I better stop that shit.
Drinking that smart water, man. I'm telling you.
You know,
it helps.
it should be known, and everybody doesn't seem to know this unless they watch, like, Monsters and Mysteries in America. They did a segment on this, but and there's actually a documentary being made about this right now. Everybody always thinks that, despite that I live in Chicago, Illinois doesn't have any. We do have our own type of Bigfoot here, which it's nowhere here in Chicago. It's actually down in southern Illinois. They call it the Big Muddy Monster, or Murfreesboro Mud Monster. So that's as close as we've gotten to having a real Bigfoot here in the state of Illinois.
There have been reported sightings in every state around this country, and believe it or not, Ohio, where me and Jason live, is actually number 3 in the nation with the last year. We are the 3rd highest reported sightings in the nation.
I'm not surprised. And funny enough, I should bring up 4 years ago now, I was actually my parents and we actually went out to Point Pleasant, West Virginia for the Mothman Festival. And on our way back, we realized we had 2 different destinations because since it's right next to the West Virginia-Ohio border, we had 2 destinations of going to, and that was either going to be South Fort State Park or Athens, Ohio. They were both the same duration, but they were too far away from each other. I kind of regret it now, but we ended up going to Athens, Ohio instead, because it's one of the other most, one of Ohio, if not, 13th most haunted place on earth. But I was so curious to see what we would have experienced if we went to South Fort State Park, which I heard is like the hotspot of grassman sightings.
Been there for a Bigfoot convention. It's an absolutely phenomenal place.
Yep, the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I've been trying to get out there too.
You got to meet Bobcat Goldthwait there just when he's releasing his Bigfoot movie.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty cool. It was a good trip. Went over there with the North American Dogman Project. We was over there doing some meet and greets and things like that and stuff. So it's a place I recommend if you get a chance to go to. And Athens isn't a bad thing, man. There's some cool stuff there, and I know some people wrote some books about it. So like Nick Lance and his mom Deb Lance and stuff. They mixed in all kinds of things there. Athens is a huge thing, but they don't tend to talk a lot about their paranormal stuff unless it's changed in the last 3 or 4 years. There for a while they were kind of hush about it. Didn't really push that paranormal side of it.
Yeah, I've only
Athens is great if you like to party.
Yeah, that's where Ohio University is.
One of the party colleges in the United States.
There's only ever been one show that I've seen that Athens has been featured on. This was like almost 20 years ago. It was featured. I think it was actually the very first segment of the show. That was Scariest Places on Earth.
Yeah, it's the thing with the cemeteries making a pentagram and all that thing. It's got a long history to it. It really does. It's not just that, but it actually has a long history to it. So that builds on it. That absolutely builds on the paranormal side because you've had longer time for these people to develop these stories. There's somewhere in every urban legend, there's a nugget of truth. It's a matter of finding that nugget of truth.
Exactly.
Records to find that nugget of truth and where it all expounded from. Probably impossible nowadays, but it's still the challenge of trying to find it is a phenomenal challenge.
Absolutely, like anywhere, yeah.
Oh yeah, and every place has their story, and so I'm saying there's Bigfoot sightings in every state in this country. It just matters how many and how little that you have. They've even had some sighted in Hawaii.
Wow, that's incredible. I remember they used to say every state except Hawaii, but now it seems like if Hawaii is starting to get into it, then that's exactly every state then.
There's every state, but it's a little bit different from what I understand. I've got to do a lot more research on them. They were kind of like along the lines of being smaller, kind of like the Yowie out of Australia, but that also has a kind of a Pacific Polynesian influence. So you really have to get into the historical value of all their urban legends and myths and things. But like I said, all those are usually developed from somewhere back in time and history. Something was experienced and it's built upon and moved in progress in different directions.
Right.
So campfires are using. I'm convinced they're using some spiritual techniques to appear invisible to our visible spectrum. Too long to explain in chat. Yeah, that would be long explaining in chat. I can say it, but yeah, I could see the possibility of it being something along that lines. spiritual wise, that takes it into a whole different realm. It takes out of the realm of scientific and puts it more into mystic, and that changes a whole lot of things. And it definitely deviates away from the whole time travel and things like that, or interdimensional travelers, or intergalactical travelers.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about like UFOs, and UFOs have, if you believe in UFOs, then they have cloaking devices and things like that, which they say aliens do as well with cloaking devices and things. So, I mean, is that what you're, is that more like what you're talking about, or you're strictly with the spiritual aspect of it? Is kind of what I'm trying to figure out.
And yeah, Don, I'll go investigate Jeepers Creepers. I will investigate anything, urban legend. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll go, and Jason will go in a heartbeat. It doesn't matter. I don't care where you want to go, what you want us to hunt. We're on it. We'll do it.
I investigate anything.
Yeah, honest to God, there isn't, and
I'm not saying I shit my pants.
Right. Well, you see posts all the time. Would you stay here overnight for $1 million? I'd stay anywhere overnight for free.
Yeah, but if you want to give me $1 million, I'll take it.
Right. I mean, yeah. If you got 7 figures to throw my way to stay in an abandoned house, then yeah, sure. But I 10 years ago, maybe I was a little bit more, I don't want to say afraid, but more second guessing. Now it's you want to see what's there. I've never been thrown down steps. I've never been drugged down a hallway. I've never been any of that. So to me, I'm not going to say that it's not out there, but I haven't experienced it yet.
And it's not. And I just got a feeling we just talked with Nick. He's like you and I, Jason. It's not an ego thing. It's not something that we're trying to prove. It is a complete curiosity thing of wanting to collect evidence or data to find out more information. It's not about, I'm not that tough. And it's not. It has nothing to do with it.
No, not at all.
It is completely and strictly curiosity and wanting to understand and collect data. I would pretty much, if they told me there was a ghost in the bottom of the well, if Jason wants to lower my chunky ass down there with a recorder and a camera, I'm going to go down and see if I can get any evidence. That's who we are.
They got to lower us both down there, so there's got to be 3 of us.
So it's not about ego. It's completely about understanding and curiosity and wanting to have that interaction and make that contact. And from getting to talk with Nick tonight more in person, I'm getting that he's got that same mentality and thought process about it. It's about the evidence and not about the look what I did, or I can do this, or I can do that, and look at me. It's not that. It's about the actual investigation. True?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like, for me, I don't have any intention whenever I investigate. And especially now that we could film this stuff live on Facebook, it's not for the popularity or anything like that. It's just, like you said, Jay, just gathering more information and just more for the curiosity for the most part. So I'm not having that intention of like trying to be like one of the best ghost hunters that ever lived that caught this evidence or anything. No, it's not about that at all. It's just the curiosity part.
Curiosity and understanding gets us a whole lot more questions and answers than it does anything else. And that mentality of trying to do it for the pure fact of knowledge changes the style you investigate. Or do you agree with that?
No, I pretty much do. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's just more for, like you said, the curiosity and understanding. Again, there's been a few times I got more EVPs than photographic evidence, but it's not like something that, I said, this is like best thing I ever captured. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that when it comes to any type of experience, even if you don't have something to capture it, it's really one of those type of events where you have to be at the right place at the right time. Otherwise, you're not going to get it in time. But just because you've experienced it, that does not mean that, it's like the best part of your life. It's like, okay, you got to experience something. Now, how can I understand a little bit more after what I witnessed?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying earlier when I was trying to, I don't think I really found more answers. I found absolutely, for every one answer I thought I might have found, I found 500 more questions. But it's a constant.
It just feels like just when you finish you feel like you had your questions answered. It's like all of a sudden 10 more show up.
Yeah, I've not really truly had any question answered. I've created more understanding, but in an open-minded way. I can't prove anything to say that I have an answer, but I have a more understanding to be more open-minded to accept more things on a broader spectrum. Does that sound right, or does that sound like
you've definitely become more open-minded?
Oh God, yeah. And yeah, Kate, that was pretty cool. Ron was telling me about it also. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I'll get you on here and talk about that.
I never got to say hi to Audrey, who was watching, so good to see you, Audrey. Audrey Farrell.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you that are tuning in. Here's a question I got for you. What is your, how do I want to word this? What is your main goal for your research? Are you more with paranormal? Are you more with cryptid? Are you more with UFO? Do you have one passion, and what are you trying to do?
Well, one of the things I always do a lot, I mean, it's not even just really, I mean, it has its connection, but it's not even really just the paranormal subject itself. In addition to, studying the paranormal, ufology, cryptozoology, and all the other subjects, I've always had a fascination to do a lot of research on history. So, and including, like even with the UFOs and cryptids, like you look at, like we were talking about earlier, you look back into history and see how many people have reported these creatures, or how long this building has been standing for, or, whatever the case is. It's almost kind of like trying to put the pieces of a puzzle together, because, and I know, of course, there's some investigators, especially those that are mediums or psychics, that don't want to know anything about it until afterwards. If they don't want to hear about it, that's fine, but I'm still going to secretly kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, so that way we can see if there's some kind of connection from all these sightings, or what's happened throughout this building's history. What's happening, what's the reason of what's happening now.
Do you think that doing that may mainstream your, or maybe close your focus on things that happen around you, so that you're looking, let's say there's 10 reports of a guy standing at the third floor hallway at the end of this hall at this doorway. So you're not even paying attention to floors 1 and 2. You're going right to the third floor to look at this doorway. Do you think that may inhibit you a little bit by doing that and going strictly for that, and not actually going in with an open mind and not have any claims and just go and investigate in that location?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm usually someone who, when it comes to like full investigations, especially of a larger location, I usually do kind of like start from top to bottom. Like I usually do like to check out the entire building, because you also have to remember with some of these reports that occur, although like you said, like if there was someone that was 10 times in the same spot, that doesn't always mean it's going to happen every single time in that same spot, because there's always that chance that, well, I mean, like, let's say if that occurred on the 5th floor and I'm on the 3rd floor and I see that same figure that everybody reports, well, there's a good reason why I have the open mind to not just one spot, but the entire location.
I need you to cut in here for just one moment, because for those guys just joining us, we are talking with Nick Mulae here on Getting to Know, LEP Productions, Getting to Know. And thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions for Nick, please type them in the chat room. We will ask them on air and we will discuss them. So be a part of the conversation. Just don't be here listening. You can be a part of the conversation, and we encourage that on all of our shows. So, Nick, like I said, well, thank you for joining us. I just want to make sure everybody knew who you were and who we're talking with tonight.
Sure.
Actually trying to sound professional. Bullshit.
You beat me to it.
Get that professional thing going here. Making the little introductions again. Now, I kind of agree with what Jason's saying. When we go into a location with Paranormal Mysteries, 6 people on the team, we tend to usually only have 1 or 2 people do any kind of walkthrough or history, and it's usually Jason and I. We want everybody else, even whether they're Teresa and Tina with their wonderful abilities, or whether it's Brian and Dave with their way of using the equipment and the tech guys and things. We tend to like to have them cold and not know anything, because I have seen it happen too many times, even with seasoned investigators. They get told they watch shows and stuff, or they watch the YouTube things that all these other people put out there, and they always seem to have that same experience in that same place that everybody else has had. Is it truly an experience, or is it just, as me and Kelly Cheryl will say, have they experienced a manifestation, or have they manifested their experience? Because mind is a very powerful tool.
I love that. I love that
one.
That's something that I challenge all the time with myself. Like Kay was referring to the time I got touched in the back of the head at Ashmore Estates. I still tend sometime when we discuss it to dismiss it. I still sometimes think that maybe my wanting, because I never had anything actually make contact with me wanting that very badly to have that experience in subconscious mind, even though I thought I was completely not paying attention to anything else. And I was just focused on listening to the EVPs and not participating in the session that was going on, just sit back in the corner listening. Did my mind create that experience because I wanted that experience subconsciously? I wanted that experience to happen so badly. That is always something that's in the back of my mind with everything that we do with these things.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned about, Ashmore, because I've been to Ashmore a couple of times. And surprisingly, I haven't had that. I haven't felt that feeling like in the back of my head. But, I've had a few other experiences at Ashmore. In fact, next year will actually be, because when I went to Ashmore back now almost 10 years ago, back in December of 2011. And that was my first full night investigation with an actual team. I was part of a group called Midnight Paranormal Society, or MPS for short. And hi, Irene. We didn't feel anything. And here's the other thing too. When we went, this was actually a couple days before Christmas. So it was freaking cold that night that we went. It was like below zero. So, and this was, of course, before, they had all the, like where they have the bunkers now, like the sleeping quarters. They didn't have that back in 2011. So we were downstairs. But one of the things that occurred was we were downstairs in the basement, down in the hallway area, which I think that's where the more insane patients were kept, if I'm correct. And we heard this noise, and we looked over. At least either 2 or 3 of us saw it. I don't know if we all did, but at least 2 or 3 of us did. We saw a full body apparition go right in front of us. It looked like, to me, it was like a young woman, probably like in her late 20s, early 30s, with wearing a long white dress or gown. And she had long, dark brown hair. I couldn't see her face too well, but she was kind of see-through. But the interesting part, I think, out of all that is because we've heard the ghost stories associated with Ashmore. And as far as I know, I've never heard of any woman that was seen. So seeing something that I didn't know about was rather unusual.
Well, that's awesome, because that's what I tend to like to find out is when people go to these well-known locations, and I love Rob and Terry to death. Jason and I he's like a brother to us, and not just us, but so many others. Don't get me wrong, but I like it when people go there and they have new experiences and don't find the same thing that everybody's been talking about for the last 20 years. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is if you get everybody has the same experience in the same spot all the time, is it truly an experience, or is it just somebody had something they thought happened and now that's implanted in their minds and everybody else has experienced what's been there? They're manifesting that experience because, well, so-and-so had it. Especially they say, well, Zach Baggins was here and he had that experience, or Ghostbusters was here back in right as they were, and they had that same experience. So I've got to have that experience because, the TV guys had that experience. No, you don't have to.
It was literally a few months after they were there that we went. It was just like probably about 3-4 months after they showed up for the first, after they showed up. So, and we had no intention to be like the Ghost Adventures crew in any way whatsoever. I mean, we came in with open minds, and we didn't think we literally didn't expect what we were going to expect that night.
Yeah, but you guys were there then. I think when Zach and them were there, they were there before Robin owned it, weren't they?
Yeah, that was when Ashmore was. I can't remember his last name. I know his first name was Scott.
Yeah, we'll just let go at that. we'll just let go at that.
I can't remember his name, but here's the funny.
Trust me. I'll get in trouble. It's going to happen because I know of several locations that the people that previously owned some of them have absolutely later on admitted that some of their stories were fabricated. There's one over here in Indiana at Black Moon Manor that come find out that the guy had speakers wired in this and everything else, and people bought into stories. Now, some of the stories are true about it, and there was activity there. And Jeffrey Morgan can vouch for that because he was investigated several times, and one of his real good friends, family owned the place. But the guy that was running the investigation for a while went stupid because of the money and started hoaxing people. And I've seen that happen to me times. So I really worry about that also, especially with some of these locations. Thank God we have people like Robin Terry, and you just keep naming some of them. I mean, like out of Waverly Hills, you can just keep naming people that have absolutely wonderful locations who are true and honorable people. But you have some out there that's in it for the money and going to say whatever they want you to hear. So
yeah, that's the sad part with some of these locations. I mean, and that's the other, sorry, go ahead.
That's people. People are, when it comes to anything about the money, I mean, same thing with some investigators. They're great people. You have a great time with them, but they get as seen on. They get their 7 minutes on TV show. Next thing you know, they're a professional. They're an expert. They know more than everybody else does. Seen it happen too many times. We all have. Every one of us.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that there's people out there that just want to just be in there for the fame and stuff like that, and that's just kind of more of a selfish desire, if you will, because it's like they just think being on camera is the best thing ever. I mean, I've been on plenty of shows like this, and I'm not feeling it. It's not for the fame or anything. It's for, chatting with people, giving my, thoughts and opinions and stuff like that. So it's not about that at all. No, at least for me.
You're taking the same approach. The reason why Jason and I do these shows, and why I've been doing it for over 10 years, is that I want to help share people's perspective. We can, and show that we can come on here and discuss something. And sooner or later, we talk enough times, we're going to find something that we disagree about. But we can disagree with intelligence and integrity and be respectful of one another. That's something that doesn't happen anymore in this world, period, whether it be inside the paranormal or outside the paranormal. But having shows like this, where we all discuss things in an open forum and maintain those three things, is leading by example and not just talking about what can be done and how things need to change. And it also gives a chance people to learn new things. Even if you learn what you don't like, people's going to love something that you say, and they're going to hate something I say. Well, you know what? They learn something they want to try, and they learn something that they don't want to do. They still learn something. They're still taking something from this, and that's what's important.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it truly is a shame.
Well, I started looking at your bio that you sent some things, and I noticed the thing about the para-unity. Let's get into that, because that's something that's been around for a long time.
Sure.
You know we're brothers.
We're both
I'm looking at the same exact thing. I would go ahead and do the para-unity. I was going to talk about your paranormal team and what got you started, but let's do the paranormal unity for sure.
All right. So what I'm working on, and actually, if Irene's still in the chat, she'll probably be mentioning this a few times too, as we're talking about it. So I'm putting together, the term para-unity, right before I get to the project, the term para-unity was something I heard about earlier this year. So this was kind of more of just a more recent kind of term. And I started here, I heard from different shows about people saying this word about para, what's this all about? And, I got different versions, but the main one that answer I usually got was it was supporting, other paranormal groups and investigators, no matter where you're from. So that, and already I've had so many connections with different groups and investigators from all over the world that, it kind of did fit the description. So I started using that term on a regular basis. I mean, I know not everybody buys into it, but, they still support it in some type of way. But that later inspired me, because right around the same time, this was when the COVID pandemic began. When we started seeing a lot of these paracons and investigations being shut down and we weren't able to go anywhere, I decided all of a sudden this idea just popped in my head and said, I can make some kind of video or something that it doesn't have to be, like 100% perfect, for lack of a better term. It's just got to be something very positive. So I've been putting together this video in response to the COVID pandemic, It's just going to be me really just saying a couple words, just give some advice, and then right afterwards the credits are going to roll, and it's going to have different names of investigators, groups, podcasts, as well as the states, countries, continents where they're from. It's going to be something huge, that's for sure.
See, I question that because, trust me, for as long as I've been in this field, which isn't super long compared to a lot of other people, don't get me wrong, but I've had my ass, and Jason too. We stand right side beside each other, thrown underneath so many buses and stuff because of some of the approaches and things that we do. And I preached para-unity for a long time. I did. I was 1,000% standing on the bandwagon, jumping up and down about it, and I still believe in it in a way. I seen it become, and when it was then, and not what you're doing with it now. So that's why I question that word para-unity, because I've seen it become something good, and I've also seen it become something very bad, very, very much a shelter that anytime somebody put up a piece of evidence and somebody questioned it, trying to get an understanding what was going on, they jump underneath the description of para-unity and say that they're attacking them and harassing them and they're bullying me. And then people pick sides and the whole big fiasco go on. So it's something to me that has the possibility that can happen, but it probably won't happen because too many things in this world right now and in this field are too ego-driven.
Right.
That being networking, para-respect, those are things I say more now than para-unity, because the para-unity back from 10 years ago, Jason can attest to it, man. It got just raped to the coals. People started using it as all kinds of negative ways. So when I see that word now, I kind of like, wait a minute, where are we going with this? Because I've seen both sides. You're on but you're on the very positive side of that. Now I like that, and I respect the hell out of that. But you got to understand from where we saw it and what we saw associated with it, that we kind of get defensive about it. We're like, let's see what he's talking about first. Nothing against you, but let's see what you're talking about and what direction you want to go with this. Because I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to see the bad anymore. I'm tired of seeing bad.
I think, Nick, what you're putting together is phenomenal.
Yes.
It's fantastic. I think it's positive, and that's what's needed, especially right now with, like you said, conventions are, canceled and investigations are canceled, and, traveling and seeing each other, whether people admit it or not, it does become a family of sort.
Dysfunctional, but a family.
Yeah. But like Jay's saying, that word para-unity has, it's played both ways. And, I wish you all the best of luck with it. Like I said, I think that what you're trying to do and what you're putting together is fantastic and positive. I just hope that everybody sees it that way, and doesn't take that word and start trying to turn it, because it did for a while, and it's kind of backed up a lot of really good people,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, as much as I'm excited to release this video, at the same time, I am pretty nervous about it because, with a lot of everything that had been shut down because of COVID, not everybody's, obviously in the same boat. They may not have the same thought. So that's why, every time I was tagging and reaching out to a lot of investigators, that's in other words, I didn't message them directly. If you guys remember, I tagged you guys on the post. I just thought it would be easier for me to decide, are these the right people that I would have in the group? Like, if they respond back and they said, yeah, I'm absolutely in, there's most of the time, usually then that's someone you want to have, but sometimes they may not. It's like what we were just talking about a few minutes earlier, about how people just want to appear on screen for just a couple minutes. You also got those other guys out there who are just looking for the fame, saying, oh, this guy tagged me in it, so I think I'll have my name added to it. So that's something I'm always constantly on guard to make sure I don't add the wrong type of people that could cause, the wrong type of reactions. Because like
you're going to get it anyway.
Yeah. And right. if you don't listen to anything else I say,
what
do you, man?
Absolutely.
If this is a project that you feel that you want to do it. Who gives a shit if anybody else likes it or not? It's your thing. It's your idea. It's your stuff that you want to put together. So always do you, man. Don't ever get to that point and go, man, that one person might not like it. You know what? If they don't like it, fuck them.
Yeah.
And we try to keep language on this, but it's a passion of mine. And Jay and I have talked about it a ton. And I hate to see people that have a story or have a passion that they want to get out there and veer away from it for fear of what somebody might think. Don't care. Do your projects, do your stuff, man. And as long as it's positive and as long as it's out there doing the right things, Jay and I'll support you 110%, man. Like I said, I think it's great. Don't ever worry about what other people are going to think about. Oh, it may not because of this, or it may not because. Do you, man?
It don't matter.
I appreciate it.
10 people on there or 1 billion people on there. You're going to have 2 teams on there or 2 people on there. Go like, I can't believe you put that guy on there. He's such an asshole. He does this wrong. He does that wrong. It's going to happen. That is not you. That is them and their ego. Do not take on somebody else's burden.
Oh, I'm still going to go with this,
Do you, boo. Like you said, do you, boo.
And trust me, this is something I've been putting together since July, and I'm still working on. I mean, part of the reason why it's been such a long wait is, and you've probably seen some of the updates I posted. Like, I've been reaching to every continent out there, and I just finished up with Europe. So now I'm going to be starting to be working on the investigators who live out in parts of Asia. Then Australia's next. I'm going to do one more check with investigators here in North America, because obviously over the weeks, like any of us, I've gotten new connections with different groups. So I'm just going to make one last call, and then after that, I'm going to start putting the credits together and get my video done. And hopefully I'll have it done by sometime in January. It depends how long everybody responds, but it's going to be great. Even though this video for the most part is only going to be meant to be like just a 5 or 6 minute video. Despite being that short, it's like any project. The project may be short. It's the work that takes the longest.
Right.
I wouldn't know anything about that. I'll let you, Jason.
You're passionate about it, man, and I can see that. I can hear it in your voice. I can hear your excitement. I can hear that, and it's something that nobody's doing. And like I said, we back you 100%, and I wish y'all the best of luck with it. And like I said, it's something you want to do, so do it.
Awesome, thanks. Nick Sarlo, good to see you, man. He lives in Chicago too, so he's another great guy.
All right.
Jamie, don't quit now. You're gonna give us an ego. You're gonna make it think someone's gonna think you're that guy.
So Nick, real quick, we got about 5 minutes left. What about your team? You guys put together a team in 2018. Tell everybody about your team and where you guys are located and things like that.
Sure thing. So I started my group called Illinois Paranormal Force, or IPF for short, 2 years ago. It was more or less in response to, like, when I said about the other group that I was a part called Midnight Paranormal Society. Over the last couple years, we just haven't done as much as we used to. So I just kind of decided to start my own group, not as a spinoff of MPS, but just my own group. And it was a couple friends of us, and I decided to form this. Just again, nothing professional. No egos really for the most part, but just really just to continue on the investigations. And one of the things that's different from us, that makes us different from other paranormal groups, is we operate several smaller groups that we kind of helped create, that pay tribute. They pretty much, like, Illinois Paranormal Force is the headquarters, and these different groups, or sets as we call them, each group has a role. Like, if you guys know Tom McNicholas, he runs Northern Illinois Northern Illinois Paranormal Association. Like, that's like our second in command group. Then we got, and I told you once before, Jay, that I used to run the North American Dog Man Project Illinois chapter here. I got someone who's running, that now. There was just so much going on, I was just unable to continue on with it, so I got someone else running it now. And then you got, like, Chicago UFO Hunters. So you got different groups that have like a different subject to them. So we haven't been able to do much because of COVID, but it's been a pretty successful journey of how, we put these things together.
Yeah, it's cool when you get umbrella groups like that. We understand where you're coming from, because like with our what we do with Paranormal Mysteries, it's actually 6 different teams that comes together to form this one project, showing people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different beliefs, and how they investigate and how we can all work together and things. So we understand that, and then taking it the way you are, to have not only just a group that is basically focused more on cryptids, a group focused more on ufology, and a group focused more on the hauntings and things, but yet all still work together, is phenomenal. And it's a good way to be able to be more broad and cover more area to help more people, and also get more people in the field. That's the biggest thing with my problem with right now is getting boots in the field, man. That's the hard part.
Oh yeah, I mean, lately we've been getting a lot more paranormal recruits more than usual, and a lot of them are rather young people too, like in their late teens and 20s. I mean, we got a few older folks too that are interested, but we're also kind of one of the toughest groups to join, because nowadays, because we've had kind of like any group, we've had a couple crazy people in the past. So nowadays we just
if you're like Jay and I, you just put the crazy together, and then you
hell yeah,
worry about that.
That's what the Paranormal Mysteries, man. They put me and Jason together. Like, oh, there's 2 crazies. They go together.
Right?
Yeah, we just keep our guard up, just to be careful who we bring in, because it's just
you need to.
Yeah, so
you need to, seriously, because all serious aside, we have a lot of fun. Jason and I have a lot of fun. We do a lot of crazy things. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes time to work, it's time to work. When it's time to investigate, you are representing yourself, and your image and your reputation is truly all you have in this field.
Absolutely.
And so the people you associate with, eventually, if you associate with them a lot, your reputation becomes associated with their reputation. If they have a bad one, you're going to have a bad one.
Right.
He's going to say, "Oh, he works with him, and he's a dipshit," and or he works with her, and she's crazier than hell, and that will be tagged to you also. So working with these other groups and expanding on that, you really need to be picky. You truly do.
Oh, and yeah, it takes like, for new recruits. I mean, I don't know if it's that long, but we always usually describe ourselves saying, to get into IPF or any of the sets, again, maybe not exactly that long, but we still describe it as saying it's harder than to get into our group than trying to join the U.S. Army forces or the police. I mean, that's how strict we really are with who we bring in.
Exactly. Jeffrey said there too. You have to trust those you work with.
Yeah,
he's one of us.
I just had a friend of mine.
We trust him.
Oh, do we trust Jeffrey? Mm-hmm.
I had a friend of mine a couple of years ago who, she used to be into a lot of this paranormal stuff. Unfortunately, she got involved with hanging out with the wrong crowd. She started, doing drugs and stuff, and she wanted to take us over to White Cemetery, which is where Cuba Road is located, out in Barrington. And before, when we used to go there, we used to just drive by. We never walked into the cemetery. So technically, what we were doing was legal because we were staying on the road. It was nighttime. Now, all of a sudden, she started asking, "What's going to the cemetery?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not going to do that. Like, sorry." And she got really upset about it. We actually had it filmed live, and despite the fact that I told her, she still somehow was completely unaware at the time this was all being shot live on Facebook. But that's like probably the best evidence to show, like, this is someone you don't want to have, with your investigation team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your reputation is all you have. It's everything you have in this field. You have nothing else to rely upon. So you have to guard that very closely. And Jason apparently didn't do that because he works with me. And Jeffrey too. Let's throw him under the bus while he's in here. And but like I said, it's nice to have that camaraderie and things. Jason, we're about a minute after. We're actually running over a little bit. Anything else you want to close up with this with before we ask you to plug everything where people can find him?
No, let's just turn him loose, man.
Turn him loose.
I have one thing to show you guys just before we go, and I had to bring this up. I don't know if you show it public. Well, Gorilla Glue.
Just not for dinner anymore.
That's right. Bring it on Tuesday. We're going to need it.
My parents were talking about a couple of days ago. I thought about you guys when they were talking about, thinking I gotta have this for the show.
These knuckleheads will get it.
Hell yeah.
So, all right, man.
That's
So,
funny.
Nick, Mulae, where can they find you? Where can they contact you at? Where can they get a hold of you about joining with your Parauni project and things so they can help, or at least help spread the word about it?
You can get a hold of me through just my normal page where it says on my name here, just Nick Mulae. But I also do have I do have a group page that's called Nick's Paranormal Force, which originally that was a private page for our team, but we've opened our doors up further for different groups and investigators. It just ranked number 6 on one of the UK Ghost Hunters lists. So, that's where you can find either my personal page or on Nick's Paranormal Force.
There you guys go, man. Make sure you go check it out. Jason, what you got to close out with tonight? God, I'm sounding almost professional as shit tonight.
I don't have much, you guys are you doing anything on Monday? Is there going to be
No, Teresa doesn't seem like she wants to talk. I might just go by myself and babble for a bullshit bit.
Okay. Well, I might join you then. Who knows?
Yep.
Tuesday nights, always 9:00, stirring the pot. Join Jason, Joe, and Jay.
Notice he names himself first.
My name's the longest. That's what I do.
I just came up and think of Jeffrey. I remember I asked you guys, was there ever going to be a 4th J? Jeffrey should be the 4th J.
Jeffrey's going to join us one night for the show.
Jeffrey's usually.
If it's
He's
a usually, I'm going to have to ask then, is there going to be a 5th J then?
Jeffrey's usually our little spoon.
So kind of like the 3.5 then.
Yeah, I could be the half.
But I'm gonna tell you what. If you're Indiana, and I don't know how far Jeffrey will travel, but Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, anywhere in that area, if you need a photographer, Jeffrey is your guy to get it done. He does all different types of things. So
put it this way, he's so damn good, he makes me look good.
Yeah, he makes us look real nice.
Yeah. We almost look like adults and responsible and everything with him taking pictures. We look damn good when Jeffrey takes pictures.
That's right. But,
Jason takes a picture. I usually don't have a head.
I was hoping it was not going to be like, I don't know if you guys watch Seinfeld. I hope it's not any of those pictures are not like how George Costanza posed in that picture. You guys ever see that episode?
Nope. I think I'll pass.
I'll have to send you an image to tell you guys what I mean.
Absolutely. Well, with that said, we're going to get the hell out of here. We thank you guys for joining us for another fun night of Sunday nights of getting to know. Nick, thank you for joining us, man. And like I said, we support what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about the haters. If they do get on your ass, send them my way or Jason's way. We'll definitely talk with them.
I appreciate that, guys. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. With that said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for another LAP Productions of Getting to Know. Join us Tuesday night, like Jason said, for another night of Stirring the Pot, because trust me, we're not done with the holidays yet. I went shopping this weekend. We've got things to discuss. There's things.
We do for sure.
We're out of here. Y'all have a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful winter solstice and anything else that you believe. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is. Celebrate your holiday. Understands that all you got to do is say something happy to somebody and it'll make it all better. Y'all have a great night.
See y'all.